It's great having you with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. This is episode 105. The title is Not on My Watch. I've counseled a lot of parents and they'll say, "Oh, my kid's going to drink anyway. My kid's going to get high anyway. I might as well let him do it at home." Okie dokie then. Let's have a conversation. If you're going to allow your kid to do illegal activities in your home, then you are breaking the law. Let's be clear about that. Your neighbors end up calling the cops and you go to jail along with your kid going to jail or to juvenile or to foster care. You did that, Dad. You did that, Mama. You don't have anybody to blame but yourself. So let's not play stupid games of, "Oh, they're going to do it anyway." Let's step up. Let's be a grown up and let's say, "Not on my watch." That means your kid says, "Oh, Mom, I'm going to this party." And you go, "Well, tell me whose house it's at." Then you call there. So you know that there's going to be a party at your house on Friday night? Sometimes these parents will be like, "No, I'm going to be out of town." What in the world? You know what? I don't care how ticked your kid is. Here's my question. Please don't flinch. So you want your kid dead at 17? Laying on the side of the road with his brains crushed out? Because he went flying through the windshield when he was drunk on his behind? Didn't even remember to put on his seatbelt? Honest to God, is that what you want? Do you want your daughter paralyzed from the neck down? Because she was driving a car with a guy that was super high and they got into a car accident? And please don't tell me it's not going to happen to my kid, because you're kidding yourself. So I'm going to tell you. Before I went to Africa in 18, the night before, there was a young man whom I had taught in high school. Great kid, really a good kid. I won't tell you his name because there are too many people that will watch this that know him. He went to Iraq for a year. He came home. The night after he got back from Iraq, went on a date with his girlfriend. On their way back, a drunk driver slammed him head on. He died. His girlfriend sustained horrific injuries. He wasn't drunk. The other kid was. So, wow, there's a question you better ask yourself. Am I prepared to deal with the implications of my child killing someone? That I'm going to have to live with that the rest of my life? And so is my child. They might end up in jail, or they're certainly going to end up with guilt that's going to eat them alive for the rest of their life. Honestly, let's get serious with each other, okay? Don't be foolish. You're the parent. You're the grown-up. Act like it. So you tell your kids you can't leave the house, man. You're certainly not going to that party, and you're going to quit doing drugs, or I'm going to be contacting the police. I'm going to get you a parole officer, and I'm going to see to it that you quit this stuff. Really, I mean it. Don't foster destructive, illegal, foolish behaviors in your children. Not on my watch. You can be mad at me. You can send me hate mail. You can talk to me about how unreasonable I am. You go right ahead. I would be excited to hear from you. But I am never going to apologize to you, especially not as a nurse, to say to you that it is your job and your place to protect your children and act responsibly for their welfare. When I worked at St. Mary's in Athens, Georgia, one night a guy from UGA who happened to be on their football team, he's an amazing kid, got great grades, went out drinking with his girlfriend. I am really going to tell it to you straight. Before that night was over, both of those kids were dead. Their heads, both of them, separated from their bodies because they ran up against a truck at just the right angle, took off the whole front end of that car, and both of their heads. I have never heard frantic grieving and screaming like I heard out of those two kids' parents that night. You are saving yourself and your children a world of heartache by being a responsible parent. Do not allow or encourage or facilitate your kids behaving illegally or irresponsibly. I mean it. Okay, so let's talk about your kid's sexuality. Do you know that the average kid is exposed to pornography today by the time they're 8 years old? They're on some device on the internet, and they come across it. They didn't even have a clue what that stuff was going to be. And they're like, "What am I seeing?" And they cannot process it. That means you set parental limits on every device your kid touches. Ha, yeah, because not on my watch are my kids going to be exposed to filth and things that are going to affect their spirits and their minds and even their sexuality for the rest of their life when they are nowhere near ready to handle any of this stuff. Yes, that's you being a responsible adult, taking care of things that you absolutely should be taking care of. You put parental limits on every device your kid ever touches. And if your child has a friend, you talk to that friend's mom and dad. Are there parental limits placed on your child's device? Because if they're not, your child doesn't need to be on their friend's iPad or tablet of another kind. I really want you to get that. This is your responsibility. You need to be paying attention to what's going on in their world, and you need to act responsibly toward it. So if your child does get a hold of it and they come to you, you say to them, that's not even good for grown-ups, and it's definitely not good for little kids. So who showed it to you? Who told you about it? If they tell you it was a complete accident, you should believe them. If they need help processing it, you tell them. Especially some kids see things I don't even want to address with you, but I'll just use the language because you'll understand me. Bestiality or masochistic, sadistic things. Really stuff that kids have no business seeing. And you need to deal with that too. But the better thing is prevention, prevention, prevention. That means you're putting limits on every single device they have any kind of exposure to. Dads, let's have a strong conversation together, you and me, for just a minute. If you're looking at pornography, and I'll deal with that on another day, you make absolutely certain you leave nothing open to where your kids can access it later. Do you understand me? Everything that you have is fully password protected. No one has any access to that, except I might put this limitation in place for you, your wife, because she should certainly know what you're up to. Just saying. But anyway, definitely protect your kids, okay? So, not on my watch. Now we're going to go to one that really matters to me, because I'm a maternal child nurse. That means screaming pregnant women with complications, pregnant women in delivery, people after they have had their babies, and those little babies. This is my area of expertise. I had a mom with a 12-year-old student. Yes, I'm serious. Say, well, I'm going to put her on birth control because I know she's going to do it sooner or later, and I don't need a baby to deal with too. In other words, the mom's saying, well, go ahead and have sex. At least you won't have a baby. Oh, it's not going to get you any prevention for syphilis or AIDS or gonorrhea or chlamydia. But, at least you won't be having a kid. Wow. Where is this responsible parenting? Mom or dad, if you're one of those people, yes, I'm talking to you. No 12-year-old has any business having sex, just so you know. So putting them on the pill is foolish at best and sheer stupidity at worst. And yes, I just said that to you. But even a 16-year-old, if you've raised your child in a moral environment and they're in a really serious relationship, like they're just wild and crazy about this girl and wild and crazy about this guy, you better be having some serious conversations. Hopefully you've already had them since they were 4 and 5 so they understand sexuality. And you tell them, your body is on fire with hormones, and I understand that. I was a teenager once. That might be really hard for you to picture, me being wild and crazy about some chick, but yes, I was. And you better be awfully careful. So if you're going to go to some place, like to the movies or whatever, you have half an hour before and half an hour after, and you're going to be in this house. That leaves you no time to go parking. I mean, I grant you can have sex in 10 minutes, but most young kids don't know that. So it's like you got half an hour before and half an hour after, and you've got to have your behind home. And in this house, no, you can't go into your bedroom, and no, you can't sit downstairs by yourself alone in the dark on the couch. Like, no, 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 no. Set the limit, set the limit, set the limit. You can expect your kid to not like it, fight with you, tell you it's stupid, but your responsibility as a parent is to protect your child. Not on my watch. In other words, I am watching you. I am living in a responsible way. I am going to protect you. Welcome to being a parent, mom and dad. Be one. Step up to the plate. I'm going to give you another illustration. I had a very good friend. She had a 16-year-old daughter. So her 16-year-old daughter goes to her and says, Mom, I'm pregnant. Her mom's like, that can't be possible. You're a virgin. She starts laughing her head off. She said, Mom, I haven't been a virgin for over a year and a half. Like, we've been doing this since I was 14. Man, that mom freaked really hard. She was a very, very good friend of mine. She said, well, okay, so you're already pregnant. You guys have already been together for 2 years. You might as well get married. I suppose I don't need to tell you what I had to say about that, but she didn't want to hear it, and those two kids got married. Before that girl was 19, she had 3 babies. By the time she was 19 and a half, she was divorced. Yeah, I mean, her mom did that. As I frequently say, 2 mistakes don't make the first one better. Just because your child ends up pregnant doesn't mean they need to go ahead and get married to some jerk. Or just because your son got some girl pregnant doesn't mean he needs to go ahead and marry some little cookie he wouldn't have married in a billion years. She might be the kind he'd lay down with, but not the kind he'd take home forever. Well, so you don't have to make 2 mistakes because you made 1. I also know a young man. He started dating this girl, and she meant to do this. You can believe me. She talked about it a lot. Within 6 months, she was pregnant. Made his mom and dad heartsick, but they told him what I said. 2 mistakes don't make the first one better. He still married her. I've seen this happen over and over and over and over again, where parents aren't very careful, and then they've got to do a lot of cleanup. Today's episode is about me begging you to be responsible and be careful as a parent and prevent yourself all the cleanup. We'll address that another day, because Lord knows life has a lot of cleanup, and you do have to handle that too. But I'm talking about prevention. I mean, less than an ounce. A couple drops of prevention is worth a ton of cure. This I know, okay? Making your kid ticked off for a few months of his life is a whole lot better than him having the next 60 years of dreadful responsibility and having his life in some way hooked up to someone he had no business being with in the first place. I really want you to get this nailed down in your thinking. You've got to be able to say to your child, not on my watch. You will not do this while you live in my house and while I'm responsible for you. I'm your parent, and I'm going to act like your parent. If necessary, I will be the bad guy, and I'm going to protect your life. You've got to get this into your head, and you have to be determined to follow through on carrying it out. It's not always an easy thing. I do realize I've been talking to you extremely strongly, and I mean to do it, okay? If your kid's already in the middle of it, it's a lot harder to stop it in the middle, but you can. So again, you stand up to them and you tell them, you can't keep this up. Really, if you know your daughter is already sexually active, you just point blank need to tell her, do you know what? Sooner or later, you're either going to get pregnant or you're going to get an STD. It's going to hurt your life. I really want you to look at your life and what you're doing, and I want you to knock this off. You are not emotionally prepared for this. Your body might be, but you are not emotionally and psychologically prepared for this. You're certainly not prepared to have a baby. I don't want you to have something that could potentially kill you, because HIV will still kill people, and there's no getting past it. I'm telling you as a nurse, every day, though we never hear about it much anymore, people are dying from it. It compromises your life. It's not okay. I don't want you to go through that. I want you to listen to me. You need to stop. Okay? Same thing with drugs or alcohol. You need to do an intervention if necessary. Get your kids out of a bad situation. I'm going to talk about one more thing that really matters, and that's abortion. I've had so many people say to me over the years, oh, it's just not that big of a thing. I've known people that have had 5 or 6 of them. Then they can't carry a child successfully. They have all these fertility problems, which are not fertility problems at all. It's that they destroyed their body and now their body can't carry a baby. That's not a fertility problem. That was their own decision over and over and over, using abortion as a birth control method. But, so your child comes to you and they're 15 years old and they say, Mom, I'm pregnant. Or a guy comes to you and he's 16, he says, Dad, I got this girl pregnant. Killing a baby is not going to help anybody, and I'm not going to apologize for saying that to you. I already told you this before. I have held an 8-week baby in my hands. I know that's a baby. You can tell me anything you want. It's a bunch of cells, it's only tissue. I'm going to tell you as a nurse and as someone who has held a gasping little baby, oh, that's a baby, honey. No joke. That's a baby. So you don't need your daughter to deal with that kind of guilt for the rest of her life or even fertility challenges. And you don't need your son to deal with that either. Guys often have as much or more guilt than women. I know a guy who's 65 years old who still has horrific guilt about a young woman that he got pregnant when he was young. Even though he has a number of legitimate children now, he has never gotten over that baby, in his own words, that I paid to kill. Do not encourage your children to do something foolish. As I always say, 2 mistakes don't make the first one better. So tell your child, if I can't raise this baby, then someone else will. And so you very well may have to give this baby up for adoption. That challenge, that difficulty, that's part of the responsibility of what you took on when you started acting like an adult, being sexually active. Now you're going to bear a child like an adult woman, and you're going to have to make an adult decision. That may involve letting someone else raise your child, whom you are not yet able to care for. Really tough stuff, I get it. You have to have enough courage as a parent to say, you are not going to do these things on my watch. So my challenge question for you today is, am I keeping a careful watch over my children's lives? Easy as that. Difficult as that. Please send me notes, comments, give me a thumbs up. I'm not saying you're going to love this video, but if you appreciate the content, I would really enjoy hearing from you. Thank you for being with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.